Hello everyone, I am so happy to see you again. Today we are going to make a vintage cake that we can enjoy with coffee or tea or even champagne. The cake is right out of the late 1940s. I found the recipe in this Betty Crocker picture cookbook that was published in 1950. For the cake, the first thing we need to do is preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius. Also, grease and flour a 9 by 13 or slightly smaller baking dish. I'm using baking spray because it contains flour. One of the miracles of the 21st century. Then grab either a sieve or an old-fashioned flour sifter because we have to sift some flour. Yeah, the cookbook says we need 2 1/4 cups of sifted flour, and I am going to weigh this for you. I'm doing this over a piece of parchment paper. There's something very beautiful about sifted flour. I'm going to link this old-fashioned sifting device in the description below. It's available on Amazon. It's not at all expensive. The only thing I don't like about this old Betty Crocker cookbook is that it does not give flour measurements in weight. I much prefer to weigh my flour. 252 grams. This is why I sift the flour over parchment or wax paper. Very easy to return the remaining flour to the flour bin. To the flour, add 3 teaspoons of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of salt. And then whisk. This is the kind of cake that all of our grandparents made. At least mine made these cakes. Maybe your grandparent is my age. I'm going to set this aside for a moment. And then we need either handheld electric beaters or a stand mixer, or old-fashioned rotary beaters, which is probably what people were using in the 1940s and 1950s. Add the 3 eggs. These are at room temperature now. We are going to beat the eggs until they turn pale and very thick. That will take about 5 minutes if you're using handheld beaters and about 2 minutes if you're using a stand mixer. Oh, the eggs are nice and thick now. Look at this. Now I'm going to beat in 1 1/3 cups or 252 grams of regular granulated sugar. And I'm going to do this gradually. I will also beat in 1 1/2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. Going to switch out the mixing attachment. I'm going to hook up my regular paddle attachment. I need some heavy cream. 1 1/3 cups or 315 ml. So the heavy cream takes the place of butter that is usually in cake recipes. After all, what is butter? It's heavy cream. In 3 alternating additions, I'm going to add the flour and the heavy cream. I have to do this at low speed. This is a luxurious batter. Honestly, I could drink this batter. Now the recipe says you can bake this batter in 2 9-inch cake pans or 1 9 by 13 pan. You could probably even make cupcakes with this. Sweet cream cupcakes. And I think I made a video of this recipe several years ago, but I'm making it again today, okay? And then smooth the top. And into the oven it goes for 35 to 45 minutes. And about 3 minutes before the cake is done, I'm going to add a cinnamon and sugar topping. As I mentioned, I have made this cake in the past, and I know that in my oven, it takes 45 minutes to complete baking. So I have set the timer for 42 minutes, at which point I will retrieve the cake and add the cinnamon and sugar topping, and then back into the oven for 3 minutes. And while the cake is baking, I think we should have a little stroll in the garden. I want to show you the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. There's been some trouble in paradise. We are in the boxwood garden now. I planted the boxwood from cuttings some 16 years ago. The shrub remains graceful and green throughout all seasons. As we stroll through the gardens here, I want to take a moment to thank you for your companionship. Your comments, likes, and shares mean the world to me. The hemlock that frames the pool garden is underplanted with Baltic ivy. I have gradually been adding statuary to the garden to give it a classical feel. Earlier, when I mentioned that there was trouble in paradise, I was referring to the kitchen garden. Squash bugs have decimated 2 of the 4 butternut squash plants. Too bad. Fortunately, the leeks that you and I planted back in April are growing with cheerful enthusiasm. It seems that leeks and other alliums are nearly immune to pests. The petunias and calibrachoas have bounced back after our long heat wave. I love to see flowers in a vegetable garden. And I am happy to receive at least 1 ripe tomato each day. This early girl variety will go on a salad tonight. I recently learned that every green stem on an onion represents a layer on the bulb below. We will harvest the onions and potatoes in this garden in early September. In the Serpentine Garden, the clethra is in full bloom. The pink flowers offer a strong and intoxicating perfume that attracts bees, butterflies, and other helpful pollinators. Plants in the little herb garden have been mostly unbothered by pests. In next week's video, I will harvest the parsley, basil, and chives and turn them into pesto for winter enjoyment. I look forward to sharing that food preservation video with you. The bell peppers have been very productive this summer. I will let some of the green peppers ripen to red. And just look at the size of this pepper. I am impressed. Our beloved contractor has been painting the shutters on this 200-year-old house. He is also making repairs to the roof over the music room. You and I will enjoy our tea and cake in this room later today. Cake is ready. Ready for its cinnamon and sugar topping anyway. It still has to bake for 3 more minutes. So here's my cinnamon and sugar. And I just had a thought. If you are making this cake in autumn, you could substitute pumpkin pie spice for just the cinnamon. Then you'll have the sense of ginger and clove and everything autumn. I'm going to return this to the oven for 3 minutes. I'm going to let this cake cool. Meanwhile, let's brew some tea, and then we can have cake and tea in the music room. Darjeeling. And I have already warmed my teapot. I like to cut the cake into squares. The cake freezes perfectly. I should have let this cake cool for a considerably longer period, but I don't care. I'm hungry, and I want to take one little taste. This is light and moist, and it's sweet, but not too sweet. It's just indescribably delicious. And away we go. I love having afternoon tea with you, especially when it involves a vintage cake. another taste. As I said earlier, this cake is super moist and it is about as light as a feather. It's like eating air, delicious air. Thank you so much for joining me today and for keeping me company in the garden and in the kitchen. I hope you found this video both entertaining and useful. Take good care of yourself, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.